Welcome to my program, Bashy's Corner. We discuss issues which mainstream media doesn't care, doesn't want, or maybe have no desire to, but we do. And in our program, you will find out why we invite guests who have something to talk about. On 18th of March 2017, Copenhagen and other Danish cities and also other places in Europe, there were many demonstrations against racism and for diversity in the society. I always try to take part in as many events as possible, especially when it comes to ethnic minorities and anti-racism, Islamophobia and other issues which are close to my heart. But sometimes health, time and amount of activities do not allow me to cover everything. But when I saw on Facebook the ad of this particular event, I simply couldn't resist. I had to go there. And that was this wonderful collection of young people who in very cold weather, chilly rain, were in front of the Ministry of Disintegration, standing there and demanding the rights for asylum seekers. And as I said, there was rain, but slowly, when the march reached Town Hall in Copenhagen, it was sunshine. Even God was listening to anti-racist people. And I have always known that God is a woman, a great anti-racist lady. So one of the organizers who spoke in front of the ministry really appealed to my heart. A young guy, I have never known him before, but he has been active many years in politics and anti-racist work. And I had to ask him to come to my studio, and he was very kind to say yes. He has also given out a new book. It's called Open Borders, and we will discuss that book in our program. Jesper, welcome to my program. It's a pleasure having a young man like yourself to this program.
It's a pleasure as well to be here.
When I heard you speak on the first time it was, sorry, even I have been involved in anti-racist work for 35 years, but still some time, you know. And that was this, as I said, on 18th of March. I was very impressed with your passion, you know, the way you spoke. It was very, you know, in Danish they call folkly, you know, where you appeal to people's heart, not so much to intellect. And if you also appeal to their intellect, it's even better. Where does this passion come from?
People have asked me before, where does this passion come from? And actually, I don't know. It's just there. It's just part of my my body, I think, or behavior. But if I have to answer more, maybe give some meaning to the answer, I think being an anti-racist is for me very fundamental, a human thing, because for me it's being a human is to cooperate, work together, and I had traveled quite a lot in Middle East and around, so I also have met many people who have lived in Damascus for half a year. Okay. So I have met many of the people who now are knocking at our door. So in that way, I think it's, for me, it comes quite close.
The reason why I ask you is because for some people it is from the family and childhood. The parents were discussing equality in the society, socialism, and some people when they go to universities, then they wake up and they see the world is very different then. So that is why it could be.
Yeah, maybe it's also from my family. It can come from many places from, and I think we consist of many impressions from our childhood and school, but I think traveling in the Middle East, knowing the people, some of the people are fleeing now, actually that's why I think it's so important.
Yes, and very true, because when you don't know people, when you don't meet them, so they are just figures, you know. When you meet them, then you know people are people. You know? I understand that you have been involved with Socialist International. Why Socialist International? It's a small organization. Why not join SF or Alternative or some other big organization where you can make a bigger influence?
Because actually, two things. First of all, I think we cooperate with as many parties as possible, for example, in doing an anti-racist front. So I do not have to be part of the Red Green Alliance or SF or Alternative to cooperate with them. We invite all the time because we think this is a bigger fight than just being a socialist. We can fight together.
True.
But the other thing is, I think it's very important to have have perspective or have some principles for your work, your political work. And I think they are often disappearing when you are trying to run for local elections or parliamentary elections, because then you need to fit into the mind of the voters or fit into the deals they make in the town hall or in.
Yes.
And I think it's more important to have some answers and have some principles for what you want.
So you mean that these big parties have no principle? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I got you. Okay, I got you. But then the question comes, socialism, I'm not talking about communism, socialism, and especially organization like yours, they seem to be outdated. Do they still have a feeling for what is happening with the little man?
They are for sure under huge have huge problems, and yes, I would say the radical left, as we call it international, have seen big defeats and big setbacks, but mainly because I think that many of the parties on the so-called radical left have moved to the right to be ready for parliamentary elections. The best example is actually Syriza in Greece, big radical left party moving into government, and suddenly they are going to administrate cut downs after cut down, pension reform, all that we know from the rest of Europe.
But they would say that outside it's easy to stay and shout and scream, but when you come in the government, you have to deal with the reality.
Of course.
So maybe that's why sometimes the radical left becomes radical right.
Or radical administrators of the system, yes.
Okay. I also understand that you have been involved in many anti-racist demonstrations and demonstration for equality, for gay rights, and also for your struggle for immigrant rights. Does it make any sense to you in a rainy day, wind blowing and everybody was freezing, that instead of use the media, the social media, write an article and reach more people?
I think it's, of course, I rather like to demonstrate on sunny days and when no rain and less wind. But I think it's so important to meet, and I think the demonstration, even though it's an old tradition, is still one of the most easy way to meet new people. To make, for example, the two of us.
Yes.
If I have read something on Facebook, posted it, we would never have met.
Yes.
So in that way, we need to build networks from these demonstrations.
True.
So that's why it's so important.
And there were many young people actually.
Exactly.
So coming back to the demonstration, what was your reason to hold that demonstration that day?
I think, as you said in your introduction, there's many initiatives and many reasons to demonstrate actually. The reason why I have put the effort there, I work in, so I don't have I just got a child, so I don't have much time. But the reason why I have focused on this day, actually this last 3 years, is because it's an international call from Athens, from one of the key places where refugees arrive and where the Frontex, the European border control, actually
in Greece.
In Greece, yes.
The Lesbos,
Lesbos, but also all the camps they have put around in the countryside in Greece. the call is from Greece, and the solidarity campaign in Greece is quite big, and they called saying we want to make this an international day. And I think internationalism in many ways, but especially on this issue, is so important, because if we are just demonstrating alone in Denmark, we can feel it's impossible. But connection with the rest of Europe, actually, we can see ourselves as a counterweight to the right wing.
But then the question comes: does it have any effect on public perception?
One demonstration, one rainy day, no. But the idea of building up, the idea of having some answers, other answers than the rulers and the far right. For me, it gives a lot of sense. And I think if we can build a movement that can go behind these ideas, then we can actually have some weight in the battle of ideas in the future, because it's sure that it will be a battle of ideas. We are not the hardcore rhetoric from the right wing, Inger Støjberg, they will not stop. Not at the moment. It's so important for them at the moment. So it's so important to build a counterweight and we need a movement. We cannot go to the established political parties say the same as we do. They don't want to do it. So we need to build a movement, as we have seen before in the history. It's a hard job. It's not an easy one.
Yeah. What about the public response? Because on the Facebook there was many people who read that, and also at the demonstration I saw not only young people but also people with minority background. There were a lot of women. So it must have a broader alliances you have.
Yeah. The thing is that it's especially in Copenhagen, there's been a shift in the organizing team. The last 2-3 years, there's been an organization called Racisme Fri By.
Yes.
Cities Without Racism, who have called. Now it's a new coalition because of, some disagreements and some new people wanting to organize this. And I think these days, it's a reality check. How big is our network? And our network is not very small, but it's not very big. It's a network that I hope can do bigger things in the future.
And it's expanding.
It is expanding at the moment, yes.
At the demonstration, after you gave me your book, the book I showed, that's Open Borders. Thanks for this friendly gesture.
Yes, you're welcome.
Why did you write this book, Open Borders?
Because I've been in this anti-racist milieu for some years now. And when I have organized leafletings with my fellow activists, or in meetings in schools, or even debates in my workplace, for example, often, even though I have been in this game for some time, often I feel, whoa, what do I say to this? All Muslims are terrorists, or they take our jobs, or so on and so forth. Even me that have been there for quite a long time have sometimes, what do I answer? What do I say? Maybe they're right. And when I go back and think, oh fuck, I should have said this. I think it's very important to collect the answers, because as I have mentioned before, when you turn on the media, you hear all the bad arguments about the refugees from Inger Støjberg, or Martin Henriksen from Dansk Folkeparti, or people from the Social Democratic Party as well, Henrik Sass Larsen.
The usual crooks.
Yes, exactly. They, every night in TV, they tell you, this is a problem with immigrants, this is a problem with refugees, this is a problem with Muslims, and they have TV show after TV show. What about us, all our anti-racists?
Where do alternative voice.
We want to have some answers, we have some counterweight. That's why, and I hope I'm not alone.
No,
we need more books.
You're not, definitely. On the front page of your book, you says, open borders, about refugees, immigrants, and the need to fight racism. Okay, these are three different topics. Why didn't you write three different books? Why to combine all those things in one little book?
Actually, because I think the arguments are very much connected. On the front page also, there's also the Earth, a picture of our planet.
Yes.
And I will say today...
This beautiful planet.
Very beautiful planet. And if we only have one. Yes. And we are only, when people say there's one race, the human race.
Yes.
Our problems are connected. Our problem with the climate change are connected. Our problem with the pollution, wars, poverty, all of these things are connected. If we like it or not, it's like that. And the ideas of solving problems by putting up a fence at the border of between Europe and Africa, what would it help? Maybe it helped now. Oh, it helps a lot. They say to us, but
some Danes say that we cannot open our borders and invite millions of refugees. What do you say to them?
I would say the alternative is much worse, because then you actually say we cannot solve the problems, and then we don't have a society for our kids and our kids' kids, because the problems who will arise from closed borders, from a fortress of Europe, for example,
are very big.
Are very big.
Okay.
A collapse, for example, of the Middle East in huge refugee, and it will. If we put up a fence, we need machine guards to defend
to
it.
Shoot them.
What will it does? What will it make in our minds? It shoot people begging from
They're
help.
doing that in Spain anyway.
Yes.
Danish People Party and some other right-wing parties, they say that there is no need for a refugee convention. We should get out of that. What do you say to them?
They are brutal, and they are brutal.
Yeah.
And the Danish people who think, oh, they are only brutal to the people with the black skin or the Muslims. They should think again, because the same politicians who are putting up a fence saying the human rights, it's not so important anymore. It's the same politicians who are cutting down in our unemployment salary. The most poor people getting homeless because they cannot afford to pay the bills. It's the same people in power who say human rights. It's not so important.
So it's a populism.
It's populism, okay. And they have a war against the refugees, but they also have a war against the most poor people
in the society.
In our own society.
You also talk about a class struggle to solve the problems. Aren't you too optimistic that a class struggle, which was 100 years old in a rich country, is there a need for that?
I think the class struggle is actually our only hope. Of course, class struggle have been as long as there have been class societies, also before communism, before capitalism. But class struggle today is saying, why should 1% of the richest people in the world own
75%?
75%. This is the class struggle today.
Yes,
it's more important than ever.
You also talk about fighting racism, as I mentioned. How can you fight against an ideology which is a very European phenomena actually, and it was exported outside? It's very, what I would call, very deep inside the psychic. How can we fight that?
Yeah, it's a long tradition. It's from the slave societies. It started there, I would say, and continued from that. I would say, of course, racism is rooted deep in our class society. If you have a very unequal society, you need racism, but also other kind of equality. The idea that women are less worth than men, or homosexuals are less worth than straight people. These ideas are made to keep the society divided. But Europe, and that's right, Europe have a long history of racism, but also have a long history of solidarity,
True.
anti-racism, strikes, demonstration, mass movements against wars. And so it's not only one history,
No.
there's two history, and we need to put more focus on the history that give us hope, because there's a lot of history that give us anger and despair. We need to put effort to rebuild the...
You talk about solidarity a lot. Some people say, I have heard that, we have a right to dislike somebody, or we have a right to not have refugees. What about the public rights of public?
They can have their ideas. They have a very much at the moment, and they use their right to speak about these issues a lot. But I think we have the right to fight these ideas and build an alternative.
Talking about like or dislike, in Danish society, I have lived here ages and ages. There is one issue which is mentioned again and again, and you have also mentioned in your book, is about Islamophobia.
Yeah.
Also in your speeches you talk about that we should fight against this cultural confrontation, you know, of the future. Can you put little more light on that issue? Because some people say we have no Islamophobia, we have cultural conflicts. You know, Muslims have different culture, we have different culture. What do you understand with this issue?
First of all, people who say that we have a culture conflict with Islam haven't read history. We have lived the Western society, or many the Jewish society or the Christian society have lived together with the Islamic society for many years around the Mediterranean, and there is actually quite a lot of years where we have lived together. And actually, right now we are living together in harmony, many places, door by door. But we have have had a long war in the Middle East, in the battle of control of the oil. It started with the Iraq oil, and it's still going on. Having a war means making an enemy, and Islamophobia is very much connected with the long war in the Middle East, Afghanistan, Mali, Syria, Iraq, and
many other places.
Many other places. Yeah. That's why it's so connected with the US and the NATO wars, so that's why it's so important right now to understand what's behind this Islamophobia.
Talking about Islamophobia in our society, can you suggest from your perspective any concrete solution to the issue of integration, for example, or issue of participation of minorities in the society?
The thing is that it's the reason why when I have mentioned the book is that we need to look at our own welfare system, our own fight for equality, and defend our rights, our social rights. This fight is very much connected with the fight of integration.
So when you say our, it includes everybody?
Yes. And it is, and I say like the Danish society.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
For example, give me a short example. For example, right now they are trying to prevent refugee children to go to normal school, normal folkeskole, public school. And the arguments behind that is the schools do not have the economy, have the resources to integrate these kids in school. Our answer should not be, okay, then leave it, that's right, our schools are really run down, there's no room for extra problems. Our answer should be, of course our schools are run down because they have been through cut down after this big lockout 4 years ago. We should demand better schools, better ability teachers, and more teachers, and less pupils per teacher. Then there is room for for helping the refugees, but also room for all the kids who cannot really fit into school anymore. So that's why these things are connected.
And do you think we should build more schools and buy less warplanes?
Yeah, less warplanes and less tax havens for the rich. They have enough cars, they have enough palaces, they have enough money to go to fancy restaurants.
Yes.
So we should demand the money back, not only for ourselves, but for the general society.
When I listen to you, Jesper, I have this feeling that you have lots of wonderful ideas, and your heart is, aching for a solution for that. Then my answer again: there are some parties in this society who wants to deal with that. They say, like Enhedslisten, or alternative. Why not join forces with them and say, hey, I have these ideas and you have these ideas, let's join forces?
As I also said before,
yes,
this, of course, every time we can join forces with everyone, even Social Democrats.
No, I mean join party. You can join the party.
No, thank you. Not at the moment, because I do not think that they are using their forces in the right way. Let's say the Red Green Alliance, Enhedslisten, have 10,000 members in this. Where are they organized? Where do they make any demonstrations? Of course, some of them do. Of course,
individually.
Individually they do. But they use all their money, all their effort, all their power to battle around being elected to the next parliamentary election. And I wrote for them. And I will gladly say to my workmates, vote for them. But it's not enough. We need to build a movement.
It's very interesting because I have been talking with them for years and years. Out of their 40 candidates for elections in the parliament, there was only one guy, number 40. They don't have any appeal to ethnic minorities. They don't go and meet NGOs. They don't go and talk to them and listen to their problem, even if they claim to be very friendly towards ethnic minorities. So I understand, but I hope that one day they will wake up and say they cannot just talk and talk, but they should also do something. There's coming local elections on 21st of November. What would you say to the ethnic minorities and the Danes who are watching this program? Who do they think they should vote, in your eyes?
I would say, at the moment, Enhedslisten or Alternative.
Okay.
But, okay, is it over?
Absolutely.
Thank you for having me.
Jesper, it was a pleasure having you at my studio. And dear viewers, I sincerely hope that when an election comes, you will vote for a party, maybe individual, who does something good for the people, both minorities and the Danes. Until next time, take good care of self.